It's your spotlight on now. This morning I'm chatting with Tony Sergio Ramnarine, the president of AMCHAM. Good morning to you, Tony.
Good morning, Rawkus. Good morning to you and your viewers and listeners.
All right, so let's get into this one time, opportunities beyond the pandemic. But before we get there, who is AMCHAM? What are some of the roles and functions of AMCHAM?
Thanks. So, well, AMCHAM is the American Chamber of Commerce of Trinidad and Tobago. And we have been operating for about 19 years now, in 1992 with about 12 members. We now have 300 members in our midst. They comprise multinationals, local small businesses, medium-sized businesses and large businesses in a variety of sectors, including energy, finance, technology, engineering, construction, transportation, you name it. We have a full range of membership there. In terms of our purpose, we are similar to other business chambers in that we advocate for business interests on policy and decision making and so on. But I do think, Rawkus, that there are some differentiating factors between AMCHAM and other business chambers that are operating locally. If you will allow me to expand a bit
Please
on that, I'll explain what I mean. We have a focus, and really the premise upon which AMCHAM was founded is that we see ourselves as the gateway to the Americas. And that is not just because of our association with the American embassy here, but also because we are a member of the ACLA, which is the Association of American Chambers of Commerce in the region for Latin America and the Caribbean, of which there are 23 operating out of 28 different countries or representing 28 different countries.
Okay.
And what that does, it allows us access into know-how of how to conduct business in those countries, valuable links into those countries with businesses in those countries, so that if we have members that are desirous of entering to expand their businesses into these countries, we're an easy access into that can help provide that service to them. Most recently, we would also have signed about a month ago an MOU with AMCHAM Guyana, which is not currently a member of ACLA. But we thought it prudent to do so because, as I'm sure everyone is aware, Guyana is one of the economies that is expected to grow quite rapidly within the Western Hemisphere in the next few years. So, of course, we're looking for opportunities for partnerships there with businesses in that AMCHAM. So that's one of, I think, the major differentiating factors of AMCHAM from other business chambers.
Okay.
Similarly, if businesses want to do business here, we're a port of call for them from those chambers as well.
All right.
I think another big differentiating factor for us is also our leadership in HSSE. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of excellence in HSSE. And maybe because of how we were founded by a lot of multinational companies who had a focus on HSSE, we have a strong history of transfer knowledge in this area, which culminates in our annual conference that we are actually hosting next month in October from the 25th to the 29th virtually. So if there are people who are interested in learning more, improving their HSSE skills or practices, please visit our website where you can learn who our speakers are, what our agenda is, and how you can register.
Now, Tony, I realize that, if you're doing things virtually, it means that you guys have obviously adjusted to the pandemic. But how has the pandemic affected business at AMCHAM?
Yeah, so from an AMCHAM perspective, of course, you would appreciate that so much of what we do was in person, face-to-face, and with networking and so on, which we've had to change, as I've just said, virtually into virtual space. And that has worked well as well. What I think from a business perspective, we have seen some of our members hit hard times, have had to temporarily close or adjust their ways of working. And I think from a business perspective, though we understand restrictions are necessary in the management of this pandemic, and we totally appreciate that, what we have been advocating for is a little bit more line of sight into how the decisions are made around the restrictions that are coming into effect. So something that we've actually proposed is something of triggers that would indicate threshold levels that would have commensurate actions that would be permitted or not permitted. So for example, if you had a certain number of positive cases of community spread, a certain threshold for percentage of your parallel healthcare system being occupied, a percentage of your population being vaccinated, and that threshold equates to a level 1 set of restrictions, or maybe partial restrictions. These are the businesses that would be permitted to be open. These are the ones that would not. If the threshold is breached and you're at a different level, you're at a level 2, it means full lockdown with these sorts of measures. That gives some predictability to businesses, because businesses need to plan. There are businesses that have to order stock, have inventory. Some of these are perishable items, have a shelf life, and also even in scheduling your manpower, you need to be able to know this. And when you're making decisions or being informed of it that have to take effect a day or two thereafter, it gives businesses very little opportunity to make adjustments that can, save their money, and it can be quite costly. So this is something that we have been advocating for, and I think our businesses would appreciate having a longer term line of sight, whilst appreciating restrictions are necessary. They have been, and they probably will feature into our future as we continue to battle this pandemic.
What are your members saying about getting vaccinated, though?
So that's an interesting question, Rawkus, because actually in consultation with some of the other business chambers within Trinidad and Tobago, we've been discussing this. And a lot of our members we are seeing have actually been vaccinated. Their staff have been vaccinated. We have on the low end probably about 50%, but on the high end, even 85 to 100% in some instances. And this is not just AMCHAM I'm talking about in the private sector businesses that are represented by all the business chambers. This is what we're seeing, that we don't have such low turnout there. So vaccines, I think, are important. This is something that we're playing a role in as well. As you may be aware, together with the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce and the Trinidad and Tobago Coalition of Service Industries, we have been running the mass vaccination site at the National Academy for Performing Arts, which is in conjunction, of course, with the Ministry of Health, who are providing the vaccines, and we've been doing so for just about almost 2 months now. And I think, I just told you that businesses are hurting somewhat by the restrictions and the lockdowns, but I will say that when we approached them about running this site, immediately they were forthcoming with donations in terms of kind and cash that have allowed us to run this site. So I'm very pleased, and I must commend the business sector for stepping up to do their part in ensuring that vaccines are made available to the population, as has the government done in making vaccines available. And I really must also thank the volunteers who have been coming out to that site time and time again to be able to administer vaccines. We're running that site Fridays to Sundays from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we're administering 3 different types of vaccines: the Johnson & Johnson, the Pfizer, and the Sinopharm. So, please, if you are interested in coming to take the vaccine, we would be happy to help you do so at our site, where it's clean, comfortable, and efficient. You'll be out of there in about 35 minutes.
Nice, and I can attest to that because I've been seeing how it's been working over the time, and you guys have been doing a fantastic job. So congrats on that. Now, recently I saw you in an interview and you spoke about opportunities in a crisis. We are in a crisis of sorts, right? We're in a pandemic. How do we get the economy back up? How do we realistically grab those opportunities while we're in a crisis?
Yeah, so I must pivot off of the point I just made. I think vaccines are so essential in doing this. That is ultimately what's going to get us out of this. But in the immediate term, there certainly are opportunities. And I mean, I did do that interview, and I mean what I said, and that is not to diminish the fact that there have been hardships and there are people and businesses that are hurting, and that I don't think they're easy or quick fix solutions. But I think it was Churchill that may have said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And you can't look for opportunities there. And we have seen some of our members do exactly that. And I can give you some specific examples. We have seen, for example, members take the time to retrain and upskill their staff so they can offer enhanced services. We have seen airlines that have not been able to fly actually increase staff in back office operations. We have seen companies that have offered services that have actually altered the line of services that they are providing and products to provide more pandemic-friendly type services and products such as sanitization, online services, as well as delivery options. And we've even seen some members take the time to improve their HSSE, for example, standards and practices, so they can win new business, more lucrative contracts, and attract a different level of clientele. So we have seen a lot of opportunities there where businesses have taken advantage of this and changed their model of operating and are benefiting and still prospering.
Nice.
And let's forget too, Rawkus, what we've seen on a national level in terms of opportunities, because I think we must not lose focus of that. we've seen for the first time technology in a big way being introduced into the classroom via online learning. And while it may not be perfect, certainly you can see technology, which is going to be the currency of the future for our young generation, being introduced, learning skills, teachers learning skills. And whilst we agree that there has to be a place for in classroom and interaction, social interaction with other children, I hope that when we move back to that, we do not lose technology and that is built into the curriculum. I also see, remote working. We have had many companies tell us that they are seeing increased productivity. And you just look around at the reduced traffic, the commensurate reduction in pollution, the commensurate reduction in commute time, the improvement in quality of life therefrom, the work-life balance, the social good that brings. And I certainly think in the future, I see hybrid ways of working that, remote working will feature somehow into the future of work, and maybe you go into the office for just collaborative type work and so on. So I think all of these are opportunities that the pandemic has brought about that we need to capitalize on and don't go back from when we eventually come out of this, though I think we will be in it for some time yet.
Well, you know what? I think that's a perfect way to end this interview by giving us a little bit of hope that we can merge the two going forward. I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning, Tony Sergio Ramnarayan, President of AMCHAM.
Thank you so much, Rawkus. Have a good day.
You too. Take care. Well, there you have it. Opportunities inside of a pandemic. How do we go forward? How do we use technology to go forward? I also want to add to what you said, and the public sector also getting that injection of digitization and going online and making sure that things can happen and they are happening effectively. So I want to wish AMCHAM all the success going forward, all the members and all them. Keep it up, guys. Keep up the great work. We're going to take a quick break and come back with more inside the Now Morning Show. Please stay tuned.